Good afternoon, I'm Bradley DWORKIN, the co-chair of the Rackets Committee at Birchwood. I'm a member of the board, and we're here to honor Mike Carrico for his 11 years of service at Birchwood. To understand what Mike Carrico has done for the club and what he's meant for all of us, we must go back to 2010. At that time at Birchwood, we basically only a tennis club. Women, in fact, weren't even allowed to play tennis on Sunday mornings. There were only 2 paddle courts total at Birchwood, and one of those paddle courts consumed 10 players, 10 men players only. And those 10 men players were on Series 16 of 18. And in fact, we never even had a paddle pro to teach those 10 men paddle players. And we had to rent a pro. That pro came for 1 hour a week total and taught 10 men tennis paddle players. And those 10 men paddle players were, as I said, Series 16 out of 18.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Their winning percentage was better than any of our men's teams now.
I was on that team.
So things needed to change at the club. And in 2010, a national search committee was formed at Birchwood. And in fact, with the national search committee, over 100 applicants applied to be here at our club as the head pro. And at the last moment before the decision was made, a resume comes in, Michael Carrico. And this resume that came in, Mike went ahead and said, I have a vision. You're doing everything wrong here at this club. And I have a vision. And that vision is that we need to develop a paddle program and we need equality. Fast forward 11 years later. We now have 11 men's teams, 9 women's teams for a total of 20 teams at our club. Also, Mike Carrico has seen the addition of 4 more paddle courts, giving us 6 paddle courts, and he's in the works for 2 more. Not only has our tennis program thrived, as our paddle program thrived, but Mike has also worked on our tennis program, and his leadership has brought to tennis creative and exciting programming. Namely, the men and women's Calcutta, singles tournaments, ladies Wimbledon, and a senior tournament, just to name a few. Mike never stopped with his initial vision. In fact, he wanted to make Birchwood better all the time. He oversaw and spearheaded the development of our pickle program. Now we have 3 courts, and we have leagues, and we have drills. Not every leader can do it alone. Mike has assembled a world-class team, as we all know, of BJORN and ALISON over the last 10 years. And we know BJORN, 1 year before Mike came, was here at the club. Mike took him under his wing, developing him, and ALISON in 2013 came to the club and continued the leadership that Mike has started. Not only has Mike been a mentor, friend, and coach at our club, working tirelessly from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays and weekends. Somehow, he's managed to volunteer outside of Birchwood.
Bluetooth connected.
As recently as March of 2021, Mike was honored from the Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association, known as GLASA. He was awarded as a Volunteer of the Year. And this award was for teaching over 20 years, twice a week, for youth to adaptive sports tennis with people with physical disabilities. The GLASA website recently honored him, and I quote, Mike has also coached GLASA players at tennis tournaments, resulting in a number of teams rising up and changed many lives. Mike has impacted so many lives through wheelchair tennis, and there is no one more passionate than Mike Carrico, quote, unquote. There was also an event to honor Mike Carrico by WGN. Laura Baumgartner gave an award in his honor on television. So, Mike, on behalf of the entire club, we thank you for your vision. We are blessed to have you at Birchwood and to have you as our friend, mentor, and coach. Mike, your clear vision has created a legacy here at Birchwood. We have several guests we have asked to come that want to say some brief words about Mike. But first, my friend on the Rackets Committee, Paul Willis, has something very exciting and special to announce.
So, what do you say after all those accolades? What can we possibly say more to honor Mike? And I think the best way to do that is to be sure that 2021 goes into 2022 and on and on and on. So we have created a plaque that will be coming soon. COVID is a little difficult to get things done on time, but we have a picture of a plaque that we are going to be having for your honor, Mike, and we'll hand these out. It's going to be called the Mike Carrico Player of the Year Award. Okay? And this is going to be men and women. And each year, the Rackets Committee, along with the pros, will get together. We have a certain system for figuring out who's the Player of the Year women and Player of the Year man. We cannot reveal how this is being done. But
I don't have to vote on this, do I?
no, absolutely not. You do not have to vote. And this is a system that has been proven over the years by colleges, high schools, and even nursery school athletics.
Mike, I will never forget the day that you asked me to join you here at Birchwood, sitting in Panera. I was nervous to make the move, but very excited. And I remember you saying you had to fight hard to get me here. I did not want a girl who did not know paddle. But you knew, and here we are 10 years later, top 10, and I'm living proof of what a great coach you are. Thank you for taking the chance on me. I wouldn't be the player. I wouldn't be the player I am today or the coach if it wasn't for you. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for believing in me, for giving me this opportunity to work with you and to learn from the best. I can't thank you enough for all your guidance, advice, practice sessions, tips, stories, laughs, and your never-ending support. It's been amazing to be a part of this journey with you. Watching you grow this program, you have done an incredible job. I have never laughed so much coaching next to anyone. Literally, making me laugh out loud when I'm coaching my court, and I will miss that. Even though you are starting a new chapter in your life, we are so very grateful that you will still be here to coach and teach. Thank you, Mike.
I'm going to keep this really short, although I could stand here and sing Mike's praises all day, but his head's going to be even bigger than it is now. So I'm going to kind of keep it short. I first met Mike in 2000. If you remember, it was at the Winnetka Park District parking lot by the paddle courts, and you were driving that blue, cool-looking Saab. So that was already, for me, that was bonus points right off the bat.
This is a sob story, by the way.
For the next, I think, 8 years, we did see each other quite a bit. We worked together from time to time, but it was only when you got to Birchwood that we got to do this full time. And I know Hammer, Paul, you guys, Allison, you touched on this, but this club was really a very different place 12 years ago. And it's amazing to think back about how much things have changed and the growth of this program. And this club would not be where it is today if it wasn't for Mike at the helm, steering us all in the right direction. I don't think people realize how big of an effect he has, not just on the quality on the court, but the culture of the club, the way people treat each other. The whole culture starts at the top, and I think we have Mike to thank for that, for sure. I think just in your working life, what you really want, I guess, is to have someone that shares your vision, who shares your passion, a like-minded spirit, I guess, that makes work and life a lot easier. I feel like I've had that, but even more than that, I think I've had a constant companion, a true friend, and a partner in crime that it just makes things a lot easier, and I feel really blessed thinking about how the last 12 years have been. So again, I just want to thank Mike for all his hard work, for making this club the way it is. And of all the memories I've had for the last 12 years, they're very precious, and I hope we're going to get another 10 or 12 years of memories at Birchwood still, because we're not going to let you go that easily. You're going to be sticking around.
So we have a very special guest, Paul Moran from Glassa. Paul, if you want to come on up and just speak.
He's been coaching with Glassa. I kind of felt his presence before Mike started work. I started coming to the Glassa practices. I was living in the city. And one of the guys I was playing with when we were like in the B division, and I was working my way up A division, started really like just beating up on me. And then I realized he was driving up north and getting Glassa lessons. And then it was shortly after that, I think, that I jumped on board. So Mike works all week, you know, on the court with you guys, and then he's there all morning and afternoon, and then at 2 o'clock he gets a little break because we're usually indoors. So he shows up like he's been pan-fried for, you know, the last, like, you know, good, he's well done when he gets to us. And then he's usually running back, but he's running some event, you know, some big fun event that you guys are all enjoying. But this guy, I've never seen anybody work as hard as him, and you know, everybody knows he's got passion, but I think we all are touched by the way he believes in us. You know? He believes in you more than you do sometimes. Oh, I think for a lot of us all the time. And you know, I was not an open player. I wasn't a Paralympian for tennis when I met him, but I was. I did play one more Paralympics playing tennis, and Mike, you know, he was a big part of that. You guys are lucky to have had him here so long. You're lucky to continue having him. I'm not getting sentimental here because he's going to still be with us in Glassa. Maybe I'll still be here with you guys too. So, you know, obviously he's one of the greatest coaches that you'll ever meet. Clearly, from what he's done here, he's an excellent administrator. You know, within a level of his own. But as far as like human beings go, I don't think you get any better with Mike here. Yeah.
I first met Mike over 30 years ago. In June of 1988, I had been the head pro at what was then called the Bannockburn Bath and Tennis Club for about 3 months, when I got a call early one morning from a friend who said, "Turn on the TV, your place is burning down." Sure enough, everything except the outdoor courts, the outdoor swimming pool had been burnt to the ground. The indoor tennis club's courts were mostly intact, save for some minor smoke damage. Ownership committed to rebuild, and we continued to run the club that summer using 2 40-foot trailers as office space, lobby, and locker rooms. Not surprisingly, business suffered, as the amenities were less than ideal. A shuffling of personnel and some skullduggery occurred, and I found myself removed from my administrative position and reassigned as a staff pro. I spent the next 2 years as a staff pro and supplemented my hours at Bannockburn with additional hours at Lincolnshire, which at the time was owned by the same family that owned Bannockburn. Ultimately, Mike was brought on as the head pro at Bannockburn by the person who had replaced me after the fire. That person had a separate, lucrative country club job and couldn't hold both positions. He hired Mike with the intention of continuing to call the shots and using Mike as a caretaker. He and another pro on staff at the time were teaching many hours for cash, selling rackets and shoes out of their car trunks, and providing other services to members without the revenue going to Bannockburn, as well as bad-mouthing every other pro on the staff at the time. After getting to know Mike and realizing he was not of their ilk, and clearly not in on the plan, I felt compelled to give him a heads up about the Machiavellian nature of his predecessor. Unsurprisingly, their true colors quickly showed, and Mike wound up terminating both of them. Shortly thereafter, I saw Mike, and he thanked me for giving him reason to keep an eye out for their misconduct. He also told me some of the false narratives they had painted about me, which, he said, he had seen through my performance was untrue. I mention this timeline because it was the beginning of a relationship based upon trust, respect, shared values, and looking out for one another that survives to this day. Through time, working part-time at Bannockburn, Mike and I built up a friendship which can only be forged by working with and next to someone over time. Eventually, Mike asked me to come to Bannockburn full-time as a team's coordinator. In short order, the head pro job became available and Mike offered it to me. And so 8 years after losing the same job, in the early summer of 1995, I was again head pro at Bannockburn. This is the first time where my debt to Mike begins. Thank you for your confidence in me and for giving me a second chance. Then, in a somewhat cruel twist of fate and deja vu, again, 3 months after getting the head pro job, in the middle of an extremely successful summer with a great team on staff who truly enjoyed working with one another, we came to work one day to find the club padlocked and the Cook County Sheriff outside the door telling us the owners had defaulted on their mortgage payment and it was being placed in receivership. The tennis staff then relocated for a month to Lincolnshire until the bank chose TCA to reopen the club. When TCA reached out to influential club members to gauge their likelihood of rejoining, almost to a person, they asked, "Will Mike and the rest of the staff be back?" I'm not sure TCA had planned to do so, but they realized Mike and his crew were essential to restarting a viable and ultimately profitable enterprise, and we all began again at the newly christened the Bannockburn Club. For me, the next few years, I was privileged to work with Mike and the staff we assembled. A group of talented, giving, friendly, funny, team-oriented people. We had great success in rebuilding the membership and creating the opposite of a toxic work environment. I dare say we went a long way to changing the culture of the tennis program at Bannockburn. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight, but we created a healthy, sporting, enjoyable, equitable, and successful community. It's a lot of fun to go to work respecting and genuinely liking your coworkers, to be involved in a group effort, and to see the positive impact of your labors. Not everyone gets to experience that in their work life. Mike stood out as the leader of that endeavor. This was what I learned about who Mike was and is. Here's a partial list of what I discovered. He leads by example. He doesn't ask others to do anything he wouldn't or hasn't done. He doesn't delegate tasks as much as he delegates credit and praise. He defends his staff, even when they are in the wrong. The first time he did that for me was an epiphany. There's an expression, you don't have to stand tall, you just have to stand up. Mike stands up for himself and for those who work for him. He's never the loudest in the room. His power and authority stem from his humility and modesty, which is not the norm in a highly egocentric line of work, replete with blowhards and megalomaniacs. In the early days at Bannockburn, I should have left more space for the laughter there. In the early days at Bannockburn, we had a tiered membership with the top level titled Ultimate members. It sounds a little pretentious to the point of parody now, but as one member, who was a clinical psychologist, stated back then, there are a lot of people around here with a distorted sense of self-entitlement. Mike navigated that constituency with grace and a skill at suffering fools gladly that was impressive to observe. He's consistent, dependable, loyal, and predictable in the best sense of those words. He attracts quality people with like minds and values. His coaching tree, like Bill Belichick and Greg Popovich, has many quality branches. He's singularly empathetic, compassionate, and caring. His work with wheelchair tennis is just one example. He initiated a class with residents at Lamb's Farm which I was privileged to teach for a time. He contributed to the betterment of his profession by being a tester for the USPTA. He had great Christmas parties at his house. He was always open to new ideas and having fun. We had a phrase du jour where you had to use a particular phrase or word during a lesson loud enough for other staff members to hear. Words such as cacophony or plethora or jackass, that was definitely one of Mike's. Or phrases like, there is no education in the second kick of a mule. He loves his family. I never once heard him make anything resembling a negative remark about any of them. And he had twin daughters who were teenagers for 7 years. He's the good cop, which for me, when we worked together, was good, because as any actor will tell you, it's more fun to play the bad guy. He's self-effacing. Best illustrated by watching him play doubles with a member once, and his partner double faulted 4 times in a row to lose the game. Mike turned around, put his hand on the player's shoulder, and said, with an absolute absence of irony, "My fault, we'll get the next game." Abraham Lincoln said, you can tell the greatness of a man by what makes him angry. As a boss and a teacher on court, Mike has a very long wick on what makes him angry and the innate patience and grace not to let it get lit. There are many reasons why Mike has been a success at every juncture of his tennis career. To quote Maya Angelou, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Mike, the presence of the people in this room today attests to how you've made them and me and countless others feel. Thank you, and best of luck in the next phase of your life. You deserve all good things.
The hug was not going to happen. I go back 50 years with that guy. Nobody is nicer. Nobody thinks more of him. 50 years in this business. Professional, responsible, kind, caring, amusing, occasionally sarcastic. Biggest compliment I can give, and I've had enough tennis bosses to choke 3 horses. He's got your back. Be nice to him.
I guess I'm the main speaker because Bradley, who I just met, told me I was supposed to stretch this out for 20 minutes.
Brief.
So I'm gonna do it no matter what he just said. I've got like 3 minutes of material and then some crying. I'll just talk slow. Anyway, my name is Paget Neve. I'm the rackets director at Skokie Country Club. I met Mike like 16 years ago. I was teaching at TAM, Tennis and Fitness Club, an indoor club in Niles. And there was a man who I'd never met before with an extremely low voice, giving a teaching certification on the court next to me. And I don't know, he must have noticed something. It definitely wasn't the quality of my lesson. Maybe it was the shortness of my shorts. I'm not sure what it was, but afterwards you know that's maybe what it was. But
I knew this was going to be bad.
It could get worse.
I know.
But afterwards we talked, and he and Eric Moran needed somebody to help out at the Lake Forest Club, and at the time I didn't really have a whole lot else going on. So needless to say, I accepted the position, and I went there for the spring and the summer, and then that lasted another 5 or 6 years after that. And it wasn't, when I got there, I was 25. I taught tennis for maybe 3 or 4 years in college, summers, whatever. 4 years from 21 to 25, I get there, and I think I'm this great pro, and I know what I'm talking about. And I probably would have given myself a 9 on a 1 to 10 scale, to be honest with you. And it's embarrassing to say that now because it took about 3 weeks of teaching with Mike to realize I was probably a 2. And I'm dead serious about that. And so then I spent the next 5 or 6 years trying to find my spot here. Spent the next 5 or 6 years working with Mike, and I really sort of learned what it was to become a good pro, both on and off the court. Just his general sense of timing, which you've already witnessed today during a couple of the speeches. Just like Allison said, he makes you laugh on the court. It could be a simple demonstration of a drill, and not only is it going to be very helpful to the students, but he's going to make you laugh at the same time when you have those uncomfortable moments, which you tend to have in ladies tennis. Shouldn't say that. And men's tennis. And men's tennis. Come on, you all know it's true. He seems to know when to crack a joke at the right time. It's always perfect. And I still, honestly, I find myself today as I'm teaching 16 years later. It's I'm always thinking like, what would Mike do? I have like a little mic on my shoulder here with an extremely low voice, which is weird because it's like a tiny mic, and like, maybe you should try this, it's just by virtue of these, I guess, call it a retirement party or whatever, everybody's saying nice things about Mike, but I mean these are, all joking aside, everything's true. I mean, he's amazing. Last thing here, and then I'll get out of here, and I'll let Coach Eric Moran get up here, which will undoubtedly dazzle you. I can guarantee you that. I just knew at the time when I got there to the Lake Forest Club, it didn't take long to figure out. You're working with somebody special. But, now you look back and he's like literally the best. Sorry, I could cry at a commercial, so. I mean, seriously, so this is hard, but. I know that.
Hatchet, it's not the first time I've made you cry.
It's when you make me wear those short shorts every other Wednesday. They're really.
Hatchet ixnay on the horse shape.
But, yeah. So anyway, all I can say is, I wouldn't be in this position that I'm in without Mike, and he really is the best. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for having me. And everybody before me has said it. He's just an amazing guy, on and off the court, in this career and in life. And thank you, Mike. And thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. So many really great things have been said about you. But I'm gonna get my no, because I'm not gonna say anything like what everybody else said, which I apologize in advance. I'm not intending to offend anyone, but this is what I wrote. Many words have been used to describe Mike Carrico: mentor, idiot savant, just plain idiot, jerk face, warm-hearted man, family man, musical genius, clueless, great coach, horse's ass, pushover, bully. And those are just a few things that I've called him through the years. I've known Mike for 24 years, maybe not as long as JAIME, but like so many of these other people, he gave me my first opportunity in the Chicago area to really learn the business.
where I could put together all that I had learned up to that point and take me to the next level. Maybe the most important thing I learned had more to do with just being a good human. You can be just like him. That's what I think we should say. Be just like him. He's authentic, never plastic or superficial. He's encouraging, thoughtful, forgetful, and let's be real, sometimes a little too honest. He's brave too, because he unapologetically tells you what he really thinks, even if he knows you don't agree. And sometimes his points are valid. Okay, most of the time, but I've seen more than that over the years. Here are some things you may or may not know about Mike. This is my favorite part. He's fun and actually has an okay sense of humor. He can't say no to any lesson. If you ask him for a lesson, he just does it. I've tried to coach him to say no, but he's virtually uncoachable and stubborn like a mule. A lot of times we've worked together for many years. Actually, I was even here for a summer when he first got here. When he said we need to get something done, he wasn't talking about himself. I learned very quickly he meant me, really. And it took a few dropped balls before I figured out that when he said we need to get something done, it was really me. He loves patternless crossword puzzles, regular crosswords of any kind, any crossword puzzle, any puzzle, he loves them. And I watched him many times sit down with a paper, and he would do it in about 5 minutes, and I have no idea how he did it, but he did it. That's the idiot savant part of him. Huge heart for others. Chair program, misfit pros, and basically anyone. Very caring. Music. He's a great guitar player, beautiful baritone voice. He'd actually let me sing, and he would be very positive, nurturing along the way for whoever wanted to sing. It wasn't just me, anybody. One of the things you probably haven't heard, it didn't make the news. In tennis golf, he sustained one of the worst injuries ever. When a bush lacerated his calf muscle, and he was bleeding for really hours, and then had to wear maybe you guys don't know tennis golf. You don't play generally on the course. I think now it's kind of evolved into paddle golf with the feet, but we used to play it with tennis rackets, and it was kind of in the areas over there, the grassy areas, and kind of anywhere was the holes, but silly game, completely made up, and that was a tough week because he was really struggling with his injury.
I was top 3 in the world too.
He was top 3 in the world. I think I held the #1 spot for the longest period of time.
Paget was 2.
Paget, and then when Adam came in, wherever Adam is, there he is. When Adam came in, he definitely competed for the top spot. So it was definitely a good competitive sport. It was not unusual for the members to walk in and see us actually laying down on a basketball court, trying to hit the ball with our rackets into the little circle area, because we know if we did that, we would win. So that wasn't that unusual. The members just got used to that. I don't think that's happened here, so lucky you. Wonderful dad and husband. I think, kind of echoing, he's never talked bad about his wife, his son, his daughters. I've tried to get him to tell me all the dirty secrets, nothing, just positive, really awesome dad, works hard for his family. I have great respect for him. We've had a lot of lunches together. Einstein loved the bagel dogs. Used to, not anymore. We would go to Ferentino's. And he would blow me off pretty regularly. Even a couple weeks ago. Just doesn't show up, sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry, positive. Yeah. Sorry. I knew this wasn't going to go well. He spent years, literally years, teaching me how to play real golf. But I'm uncoachable too. So after 24 years of lessons, I still suck. He's still a great coach, but it was a student that time. He does one drug that I know of, and he got me hooked on it years ago. It's this Diet Coke. It's horrible. I don't know, but he definitely got me hooked on that. Thanks, Mike. My kids would come to the club. We worked a lot, so the only time really sometimes our families could see us was if they came to the club. So my kids got to know Mike really well. He coached them. He became Uncle Mike to my kids. And that was huge to me to see that he could connect with them. My kids are kind of difficult sometimes, so it was really cool. So thank you, Mike, for that. I know he's not dying right now, but he is starting this next phase, this new chapter. I'm excited to see what happens. How is he going to spend his time? What's he going to do? Is he going to just keep saying yes to lessons and he just can't stop, or is he actually going to do stuff? I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens. I don't know. One last little thing here. I remember we were. Paul reminded me of this. I forget. We were playing an exhibition up-down tournament, which means able-bodied or two-legged player would play with a chair, and it was an exhibition. Where was that? That was some center.
It was UIC Pavilion.
Okay.
Before the Sampras and Martin match.
Yeah. So we're playing this
In front
fun.
Of 6,000 people.
Okay, in front 6,000 people. So Paul and I are a team. And by the way, Paul has the same last name as I do, so we're both Morans, so we're cousins, we decided. And we're playing against Mike and his partner. And there was an overhead, right? There was an overhead, and Paul suggested that we need to hit the wheels of our opponent, which, I hadn't done a lot of, chair stuff, and I wasn't sure that was the right thing to do, but I think we ended up hitting her wheels a few times. That was, so yeah, that was good. I have a direct victory over Mike and his doubles partner, and Paul does too, so I feel good. Yeah, very nice. So I could really talk forever, of course, because I've known him and we've gone through a lot together, and I can't, just like everybody, I can't say enough. He's been just wonderful positive influence on my life personally, but just having a chance to see how he coaches and kind of being part of what he does has made me a better person. And so I have to, hats off to you. By the way, this is actually from Lake Forest Club when we worked so many years together. I saved it.
I remember that.
Hats off to you, and good luck to you in your next chapter. You're going to be amazing. I know it.
First of all, I can't follow all those people before me. Thanks for everything. I'm going to still be here, you guys. Come on. It's just... this is the place to be, and I'm glad you're all here, and I intend to stay here as well. So let's keep going. Have more fun. And I really appreciate putting this together. I didn't want this. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Don't look at the back, it has the answers.
This will take me about 10 minutes.
I know, probably less.
But anyway, thanks for everything to all the members at Birchwood. It's an amazing place to be. It's going to keep getting better. And thanks to Hammer for putting all this together, and Paul. I appreciate everything that we're doing. I feel weird because I'm not leaving you guys, all right? I'm gonna still be here. So let's really support our new team of Adam, Allison, and BJORN. They're gonna do and I promise not to butt in. But if you have any questions, I'll be here. But thanks, everybody. And thanks to Bruce Schiff, who took about, I think he took about 300 lessons from me when I was at Bannockburn. So thank you.
On behalf of the Birchwood Club, I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and Mike, thank you for being so amazing for the last decade.